What does freedom mean to you? Does it mean the freedom to choose? The freedom to have a family and raise your kids according to your own values? What about living a wild, adventurous life, experimenting with music, relationships, or art? What does freedom really mean? What if freedom meant something that only a few Americans still understood? What if it meant that your choices and your values were set by you, rather than by some politician in a far-off capital? Some people think we're only free to choose to live exactly how they live, by their moral code, or their narrow worldviews. But if liberty means anything, it means that you, and you alone, have the power to exercise your rights to which the laws of nature and nature's God granted you. It's time to put these principles back into action. It's time to restore the American dream, activate in our communities, and take our country back. It's time to wake up, America. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupamericashow.com. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're delighted to have you here. Happy Wednesday, Hump Day. Actually, yesterday was Hump Day, Valentine's Day. I know I shouldn't be doing that so early on in the stream. So you know what? We've got somebody assigned to us from YouTube who watches all of our shows to ensure that they can actually be monetized, and 9 times out of 10 they are, but sometimes they're not. And one of the rules that you have to be careful of whenever you start it out, if you're watching this YouTube, hi, make sure you don't say any curse words in the very beginning of your stream, which I pretty much try to avoid in general. Every once in a while one slips out, but you know, we're not on radio, it's not broadcast, it's not the FCC, but the advertisers still get a say, don't they? Thanks so much for tuning in today. We've got some great guests for you today at 7:30 a.m. I've got Jeremy Cady from Americans for Prosperity joining me in the house. We've got some good news. Missouri is advancing a bill that would allow students to be able to leave their failing school districts. Yes, that's right. School choice in Missouri is making moves, but the opposition to it is not coming from the traditional places that you would expect. That's right. Some on the right are actually opposing school choice here in the state of Missouri. It's the oddballest thing you've ever heard of or seen. Jeremy will join me at 7:30 and we'll talk about that. At 8 a.m. this morning, we've got Judge Andrew Napolitano. Does he believe in aliens? Aliens. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. Yeah, the U.S. government has stated that the objects that were shot down, not the Chinese spy balloon, were not Chinese. So what the hell were they? The government confirmed that it wasn't U.S. government objects, because there was a brief period of time where we all thought that the U.S. government might have accidentally shot down its own stuff. I mean, considering how competent they are in other things, would you really put it past the U.S. government to shoot down their own objects in the sky? Well, senators were briefed yesterday from the Department of Defense, and Robert Kennedy, Marco Rubio, and many others are saying, we should probably make this public, but they already did make public the fact that they said that the other objects that were shot down were not Chinese. Well, unless like Chile or unless Iraq has some air force that we don't know of, maybe we need to find out what's flying over our skies that is getting shot down that is not from China. I don't know, maybe it was Russia. We'll talk to Judge Napolitano about that, as well as a few other things. At 8:30 this morning, speaking of advertisers, my friend Kevin Demeritt will be joining me from Lear Capital. I was reading yesterday a statement from the Rich Dad, Poor Dad author, which if you haven't read Robert Kiyosaki's book, I highly recommend it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is predicting a massive economic crash, is saying buy gold, buy silver. And here's the thing. The central banks, especially China's central bank, are loading up on gold and silver. And Robert Kiyosaki is saying that there's a very good reason for that. Central bank gold buying has spiked by 152%. What do they know that we don't know? Well, you'll know after 8:30 when our buddy Kevin Demeritt comes on to explain to us just what's happening with commodities in the stock market and why gold and silver is such a good investment. And we'll want to treat him nice, won't we? Because it's thanks to him that we get to have an awesome show. Let's see. Nikki Haley enters the arena. She gets into the presidential race. I know you guys are all like, yeah, super excited, aren't you? Wait. Boo. What do you mean, boo? What, you're not excited about Nikki Haley? Come on now. Who doesn't want a female version of George W. Bush? Aren't you guys?
No!
What?
God!
What do you mean?
No!
Don't be upset.
Please, no!
No, come on, she's great. I've been told from some very reliable establishment insider sources that Nikki Haley is gonna absolutely dominate Donald Trump. She's gonna trounce him. She is. Nikki Haley, she's gonna get up there in the debates and she's gonna really imagine Nikki Haley debating Donald
You're a
Trump.
stupid son of a bitch.
What do you mean? Don't say that. Now, she's absolutely, she's fantastic. Listen, do we know a whole lot about Nikki Haley? No. Are we going to learn a lot about Nikki Haley over the next couple of years? Yeah, we're going to learn a lot about Nikki Haley. Do I think that Nikki Haley is going to win the presidential nomination? No, but do you remember how I hate to say this, but do you remember how Donald Trump spanked our buddy Rand Paul? I know. Remember when he took Rand Paul on, was making fun of his curly hair, and like we libertarians were all like PO'd about it, and we're like, no, don't you talk like that don't you talk about Billy Idol that way, except Rand Paul. Yeah, he's gonna play basketball with Nikki Haley's head. I don't know what he's gonna. What do you think his name for Nikki Haley's gonna be? Because she's a woman and she's what, Indian American. So there's gonna be some racial slur in there somewhere. You just know it. You just know that's going to happen. What do you think about that? You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. At 573-319-1586. U.S. senators are reacting to classified UFO briefing from the Biden administration officials. Top Biden administration officials have been briefing senators on both sides of the aisle about the 3 unidentified flying objects that were shot down over North America in the last few days. Both Democrat and Republican senators should listen to the DOD over the last few days about these objects that were shot down over Alaska, Michigan, and Canada. Lawmakers apparently left the briefing with more questions than answers. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida said that 99% of what was discussed in the room could be made public without compromising security in this country, which leads me to wonder just why exactly it was such a classified briefing after all. What are your thoughts on that? But my most interested take on this was the Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. He's the one who said that he left the briefing with more questions than answers. He says, here's the key takeaways from this. And this is where it's kind of like, ooh, I need like a spooky UFO sound. I'll probably download one during the commercial break. But he says that mysterious objects in U.S. airspace have been flying over us for years and that the U.S. government has known about the activity. All right. I'm not saying it was aliens, but...
Oh, my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man.
Yeah.
Get your ass on, boy.
I'm not saying it was aliens.
Get your goddamn ass.
But apparently objects have been flying over us for years. Then that's what Kennedy said. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, which honestly, John Kennedy is more the kind of guy that I won't say I trust in Washington, D.C., but he's one of the ones that I listen to more and kind of get the impression that he's more of a straight talker, tells it like it is. He says these objects have been flying over us for many, many years. We've known about them for many years. We're not sure that we've known all about them, but we've known about many of them, except for the Chinese spy balloon. We don't know what they are. What's different about the last 2 weeks is we started shooting them down. They say that they can't find the remnants except for the spy balloon. So let me get this straight. So we shot down 3 objects in the last week that we didn't know what they were, but we know that they weren't Chinese spy balloons, and we can't find the remnants of these objects, but we know that these objects weren't Chinese. Something ain't adding up. Something ain't right. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Thank you, Hamlet. What the hell? I need that meme sound too. Oh, what the hell? What is that, LeBron James? Kennedy of Louisiana said that the officials cannot find the debris from those objects recently shot down. They say that the remnants landed in areas with difficult terrain, low temperature, and lots of inclement weather. They're looking, but they haven't been able to find them. Rubio says that the military personnel have reported hundreds and hundreds of cases. He also says that he doesn't think the objects pose a threat to the country unless they collide with an airplane. Well, then that is a bit of a threat, isn't it, Rubio? Senator Blumenthal of Connecticut says that the American people deserve and need to know more. I'm not afraid in any way afraid that we are under threat of attack or physical harm to our homeland, which, since he's a Democratic senator, means that we are definitely under threat of our homeland. he says that that's my personal feeling, but the American people need to be reassured with more facts. I mean, this just kind of stuff is just mind blowing that this is going on right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Again, you can text the show at 573-319-1586. Mary Kramer says, hot air balloon ride just removed from bucket list. Very good, Mary. Yeah, again, you can text the show too if you want to have your message read on air at 573-319-1586. And then people say that I say that too quickly. So it's 573-319-1586. And what you need to do is program that phone number into your mobile phone so that you can text us anytime that you like. Senator Tom Tillis, after the briefing, came out and said that a lot of people don't understand the altitude challenges for going after a certain target. There's a lot of complexity in it, but I think they've done a good job of getting our situational awareness to where it is today. So we've discussed this a little bit, that one of the potential challenges of shooting down the Chinese spy balloon is that if it had been 60,000 feet in the air, even the F-35s potentially wouldn't have been able to shoot something like that down. And underneath the circumstances that they did, I believe that they shot it down at around an altitude of 20,000 feet. So the possibility of shooting down something, within commercial airspace, yeah, not a problem. But a lot of these objects are operating in altitudes that are, I say, outside of our capabilities. But, isn't it kind of I think that really one of the lessons from this one is we're really just kind of learning the limitations of the capability of America's Air Force. And in terms of limitations, I mean, think about this. If you had We all sort of have this idea of the invincibility of the American military. And obviously, we've had problems in Afghanistan and Iraq fighting. We had a problem fighting rice farmers in Vietnam. But those are different kinds of struggles. You would think that if something were to be able to breach American airspace, no matter what height it was, that we'd be able to shoot it down. Hell, I guess I was just kind of assumed that there were maybe some kind of space lasers that could do something like that, that would be able to take out an object that was within a certain distance. Maybe there are, but they just don't want to reveal that something like that exists by actually using that weapon, unless it's something that's actually a real dire threat, right? You always got to consider both sides of a coin. But in terms of the capability of shooting down a balloon, it shocked me last week to learn that if there's a Chinese spy balloon at 60,000 feet in the air, we might not have any kind of contingency plans to handle that kind of thing. Again, potentially, assuming that we don't have something that's like a space laser that they honestly just don't want to fire it, because in firing it, they would reveal that it exists. And again, they don't want to, have anybody know what it is. Space lasers, says Gary Sign. Yes, space lasers. Here's the question. Are the space lasers Hasidic? Are they Ashkenazi, or are they what's the other type of Jew? Jewish space laser. I know people are thinking Marjorie Taylor Greene right now. Buddy Mansour says, are you aware that you are 2 hours away from the world's largest private air force? I had no clue. Private Air Force? Was private Air Force? I know that Richards Gebauer, or I think Richards Gebauer's closed down, but I know that there are some bases around here, but I don't know what the private bases would be. Looks like Andy Opperman got his Ninja today. Yeah. Andy, you the man. So for those of you who are like, what the hell is the Ninja? So for our monthly subscribers on the YouTube channel, each month up to, I believe, 3 or 4 months, you get a badge icon next to your name. So like, for example, you can see Doug H in the YouTube live stream. He's got a Statue of Liberty, which is a 1-month subscriber. And once you hit 3 months, I believe, Andy Opperman, you hit your Ninja status. And then I think it's 6 months is where you get your flintlock pistol. And 1 year subscribers, of which I think there's maybe a handful of people that are on their way to that. 1 year subscribers get you become a founding father, and you get like a George Washington icon. And if you stick around for 2 years, then your icon badge, and I'll probably add some more in between yet. I just haven't done it yet. But if you get 2 years, and you actually get a nuclear weapon as your badge, which is pretty cool, to be honest. What do you think about that? All right, I'm going to go to a commercial break. When I get back, it's the 30-90 rule. We're going to talk about the 30-90 rule, how to take the perfect nap. I don't know about you, but I'm a napper because my ass is getting up at 4:30 every single day. I gotta take a nap sometimes in the afternoons, right? But how do you take the perfect nap? Sometimes when you wake up from a nap, it's like, okay, I'm actually more tired than I was when I began. Well, guess what? I'm gonna tell you how to take the perfect nap according to science. It's science. It's how we know that the objects are aliens. It's science. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. On the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apeforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apeforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit aporlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupamericashow.com. We're glad to have you here today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Happy Wednesday. Well, if you're looking for the opportunity to learn about how to take the perfect nap, you're just going to have to wait. It's morning anyway. What do you think about napping? I know you'd rather just go back to bed. We've got our guest in studio. We might as well introduce him now. He's Jeremy Cady of Americans for Prosperity. Good morning, Jeremy.
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us today. You don't look like you're going to lay down for a nap anytime soon.
No, I've got a hearing here pretty shortly, so I got to run over to the Capitol building.
Jeremy Cady is the head of the Missouri chapter of Americans for Prosperity. You're in the Capitol right now. We're pretty close. We're just like a 2-minute walk away from the Capitol here at the Missouri Times building. So what's the hearing about today, Jeremy?
Today we're discussing tax credits again.
Oh.
So previously was the film tax credits, which we're obviously opposed to, but we've got entertainment tax credits. It's a tax credit for bringing in folks that are rehearsing, like their concerts, and then also bringing in like a couple of concerts as well. So,
And the idea is that politicians believe that this will help stimulate the economy and also to educate people and to enrich us with artistic endeavors.
I'm sure it will definitely enrich some folks.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where our position is normally, instead of picking winners and losers, picking one company over another or one industry over another, let's just give everyone a tax cut. We've been working on the corporate income tax cut. Senator Denny Hoskins has that in the House. Representative Travis Smith has it in the Senate. Denny Hoskins, and then in the House, Travis Smith has it. But give everyone a tax cut. Let the market decide. What's going to be successful or not.
This tax credit scheme is it's very popular with politicians and with cronies. I mean, these things get passed all the time, and the governor passes it and signs it. I mean, it's kind of a Republican thing. Tax credits, right? The idea is, give people. I mean, explain to people what a tax credit is, so I don't butcher it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and one of the ways that Republicans try to sell it is that they're giving someone a tax cut. And I mean, that's kind of true. So they're like, tax cuts are good. The problem is they're very, very targeted. So the film tax credit, for instance, Georgia does that. They have spent about $6.5 billion in the past decade moving tax credits to the film industry. So Missouri wants a piece of that, or some individuals in Missouri want a piece of that. And so basically what the legislature is working on is a $20 million tax credit. So that's the amount that would be in the program to help lure maybe the filming of a movie, a TV show. And so basically, if they spend so much in the state, or if they spend it in certain areas, like if it's blighted or in the rural areas or something along those lines, they get more of a tax credit. So, but they get basically up to 40% of their production costs as a tax credit. So if you come in, you spend $1 million, you get 40% of that back, $400,000 as a tax credit up to. And so that comes off of what you would pay in taxes. And so
this exists now in the state of Missouri?
It did. But
it like sunsetted.
It sunsetted in 2012. In 2010, the tax commission, the Missouri Tax Commission, actually said we should do away with the program because we weren't getting an ROI on it, return of.
We just didn't have enough people bringing productions to Missouri.
Or just wasn't creating enough tax revenues. And that's one of the key things is in Georgia with their tax credit, 88% of the companies don't exist in Georgia. So a lot of these companies wouldn't actually even pay taxes to the state of Missouri. They would come in, they would do their production, they would get a tax credit for the cost of their production, then they go back to California, they put the movie together, that's where they distribute it from, so that's where their profits are actually gained, is in California.
It's so funny because they shot that movie Ozark and they didn't even shoot it here in Missouri, so they didn't even want to take advantage of our tax credit. What the hell?
Well, and the interesting thing, though, is they wouldn't actually even pay taxes in the state of Missouri. What they actually have to do, there's a little portion in a lot of these tax credit bills that allow for transferability. And so basically what they do is they auction these tax credits
It
off.
becomes like a currency.
Yes, and so they auction it off to another company that does have tax liability. They pay them cash for that tax credit, and then they just pocket those
The
funds.
difference.
Yep.
Man, that's a really lucrative scheme. So is the push today to try and restore that film tax credit, or
So the film tax credits were actually heard a couple of weeks ago. The entertainment tax credit is a new one.
Mhm.
I think only 1 or 2 states have been trying it so far. And again, it's more for rehearsals for like concerts because with
Gotcha.
streaming and everything, a lot of
Yes.
artists are losing a lot of the money that they used to be making. And so concerts are the big thing of making, and
That's how they
some of
make
these
their
artists
cash these days.
trying to get their cash back. So
That's good to know.
so it's one of those things where I think it's trying to tap into that market of rehearsals and bring in some of the concerts.
So I wrote a movie using ChatGPT around like a dramatization of the life of Lysander Spooner, but the tax credit doesn't exist, so I shouldn't shoot it in Missouri. Do you know, are there any other states that have these tax credits? I guess not in California.
The film tax credits, Georgia is a big one. A lot of them actually go to Canada.
Really?
Yeah. So if you want to go up
I
there,
would feel very unpatriotic shooting a film to celebrate American freedom in Canada, but you know what? There's nothing more America than money. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm speaking to Lord Jeremy Cady from Americans for Prosperity. What the hell is with this Lord title?
oh, so that was a joke between my wife and I. We actually saw one of those buy this 1 square foot plot in Scotland
Did you
things.
guys do that?
We did it. We did it.
Such
So
a scam.
the funny part is though, is my wife is Lady Katie. So
Okay, Lady Katie.
Lady
Okay,
Katie.
all right.
So come on, that's you
Okay.
got to do that. That was worth it.
I guess so. Okay, you could have just called her that anyway. But if you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, Jeremy Cady has come in here today to talk to us about school choice. I guess is that what this really is? I mean, I know that there's lots of different names for this, but this sounds to me, this bill that's being floated here in Missouri, this sounds like pure school choice. What is this?
So the actual bill is called open enrollment. That's what it's doing. That's what it's allowing. In the Senate, Senator Koenig has it. In the House, it's Representative Brad Pollitt. And basically, what it's doing is it's helping to dissolve some of the zip codes. So basically, right now, if you go to a public school, you go to the school that in the district that you live in. What open enrollment is just trying to do, and it's only public school choice. And so it's one of those things where we're for opening up as many opportunities as possible, and that includes in the public school system as well. And so it's only in the public school system as far as the open enrollment goes. And basically, what it says is that if another school allows you to, if they have an open seat, you can leave. You can take your child from the school district that they're in and take it to the school district that would allow you to attend there. And some of the state funds that that the state pays out to your original school follow you to the new school that you transfer over to. So it's nice and easy, simple.
So the money follows the student.
The state portion of the funds do, yes, not the local property taxes, but yes, the state portion does follow the student. Correct.
Okay, so what in terms of percentages, like how much is that really? Because it's the majority of it is from your county taxes.
So, and it depends. There's generally speaking, state funding can be between $6,000 and $7,000 per student, generally on average. And then depending on the school district, you're probably looking at between 11 to up to $20,000 being paid out per child. So it kind of depends on that.
Are you guys going to play in the Missouri presidential primary?
We're obviously reviewing all the different options. I know that Americans for Prosperity made the release that we're looking at the presidential primary overall. It's just one of those things where there's a lot of stuff that goes on between now and Missouri's activities in that, but it's one of those things where we are definitely reviewing it and looking at it.
I can imagine it can be kind of tough because when you work for a political organization, you might have your own desires and plans. I mean, you may personally be a Donald Trump supporter, but if AFP decides to go in another direction, then there's kind of a challenge there. Is that kind of something that you're worried about struggling with?
Not at the moment. I mean, generally speaking, we have a lot of communication with all the different teams and capabilities within the organization.
Because I mean, you're politically aligned with AFP, right?
Mhm.
You're a limited government guy, and that's typically the type of people that they choose. I mean, not always, but for the most part. And so when I saw that AFP was going to be playing in the presidential primaries, they said specifically that they didn't want to support Donald Trump. They think that it's time to move on. So I'm guessing you're kind of hoping that, real limited government people are going to get the presidential primary, because otherwise you might get stuck with Nikki Haley or something. I don't know.
Well, and it's one of those things where whenever we're looking and reviewing a candidate, and this has been the case for the U.S. Senate race that we played in this last year, for all the state legislative races that we look at, and all the races that we're looking at in the moving forward, is definitely we look for folks that are policy aligned. Yeah, we want good people that are going to be supportive of good legislation, good policy. But at the same time, though, we also look for folks that are willing to work with others to get that done. Are they statesmen, stateswomen? Can they work across the aisle on some of these issues? Can they bring folks together, unite them to make progress in our nation of expanding freedom and opportunity for all?
Do you get excited about Ron DeSantis as a potential candidate? Because there's some things that I don't care for that he does that are not exactly libertarian. But I mean, libertarianism isn't exactly electable, as I can attest. Uh, but I would say for the most part, he's done a pretty damn good job. Could you see getting behind him?
And again, I mean, that's a lot of discussions to be had moving forward. But at the same time, though,
Don't you political word me, Jeremy Kane.
I've got to, I've got to.
Don't you lord me.
But no, at the same time, though, like I like DeSantis. I think he's done a fine job down in Florida. I think Florida has grown a lot under his watch. And so there's a lot of things that I really like about the guy. I actually heard him speak in Utah a few years ago, and top notch, actually fantastic. He was getting into the nitty gritty on the Florida budget and everything like that, and so it's one of those things where you see
He was nerding out.
he was, and it was
And you love
actually,
that stuff.
I do.
I'm
I
sure
do.
the audience was like,
And I was sitting there applauding.
taking a nap. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Well, that's interesting. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson, and I'm speaking to Lord Jeremy Cady, yes, Scottish Lord, and he's talking to us a little bit about Americans for Prosperity's agenda here in the state of Missouri. Jeremy, now playing in the presidential politics, you guys, I know that there's like a whole complex set of criteria that a AFP applies when it picks to candidates. Most of what you do is done on the state level, but there are a lot of it looks as if AFP wants to play in the presidential primary. So knowing that a candidate's sort of personal behavior, I guess I call it antics, is something that comes into play. Is that, do you think that that's going to apply to the presidential primaries as much as it does on the state level primary? Because I know that AFP, when they look at a candidate, they could be really good on the issues, but if their personal behavior is ridiculous, then that could be a disqualifying factor.
No, and I just mentioned it a little bit before. We're definitely looking for folks that they're more of a statesman, stateswoman. Again, able to work with others. It's one of those things where we have a lot of policy folks that are very agreeable with us, but they're also they don't make a lot of enemies either in the legislature. And so it's one of those things where they're more capable of, hey, we want to push a tax cut. You're not going to push a tax cut and get that over the finish line if you're calling your colleagues' names on the floor. That's just not going to happen.
But it does get you a lot of attention in the press.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. But at the same time, though, if you're willing to work with your colleagues, and again, this is the political process, so there are going to be compromises. Sometimes you're not going to get all that you want, but at the same time, work through the process to get something done like that. Get a tax cut for the state of Missouri. I think that's a good thing. So I think that's one of the things that we look at is not only are you aligned, but can you actually get it done? So I think that's a big part of the process.
That's good stuff. I like the comment on the chat over from that SWAT dude who says they have some real vibes backgrounds on the show, but the talk is serious. Yes, that's true. It's it's a very synthwave style fun background, but we've got some real serious topics. Sometimes we do like to delve into that. Other times it's kind of silly. We talk about aliens and jokes and all kinds of stuff. Hey, Jeremy, is there anything else that you think that our listeners should know before we let you go today?
We're definitely working on the education reform. We've got the tax credits that we're pushing up against. One of the fun little things that we are working on right now, though, is regulatory sandboxes. A couple of other states have done this. It's passed the Senate. It's in the House now. Representative Alex Riley actually has it in the House as well. But basically, it's a form of deregulation. It's allowing companies that have a brand new innovative idea but because of the rules and regulations that might exist at the time, they can't do it. So we created a little box around them and actually let them test out their ideas before government just comes in and just squashes it.
I like this idea, and it's a really good segue for my next topic, which is going to be how to take a nap. Talk about regulatory sandboxes for a long time. I'm just kidding. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us from Americans for Prosperity. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for coming on today, and good luck in the hearing today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. What did you think of Jeremy Cady? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. Well, the studio audience today is feeling really rowdy. There you go. Good. Glad that you're up and at 'em, ready to roll. When we get back, we'll talk about the 30-90 rule and what NASA scientists have said about how to take the perfect nap on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1. You can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself, or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2. Most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. line. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Okay, this is gonna be like a little vent, little heart-to-heart thing, really that I don't expect anybody to watch. But, so yeah, I am trans, I am non-binary, I use they, them pronouns. And I just started a new job, which is always kind of that mix of like anticipation, but also nervousness. But then because I'm non-binary, there's also this extra level of nerves of, am I gonna be treated like a human being because, you know, I don't identify as the gender that I was born as. And today, you know, things went good. My manager and my bosses have been totally chill with my dead name and everything like that. But pronouns. Pronouns are not that hard. I usually wear a big flashy pronoun pin that says they, them, or multiple pronoun pins that say they, them on my shirt, where they are visible on my chest. You have eyes. You manage people. You are in charge of other people. I know you can read. You had to have some kind of fucking education to be in this position. Read. Use your eyeballs. And if you're not sure, hey, are those your pronouns? Or why are you wearing those pins? You can ask. It's not offensive to ask if you're genuinely curious. I'm just so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. I want to be treated and respected as a human being. And the job that I left prior to this actually did treat me like a human being, and I really didn't have issues being seen as a queer, non-binary person, and I was treated with respect, and I ended up quitting because I was being harassed by a very specific individual, and it basically made me want to unalive, if you know what I mean. And so I'm like, I leave one environment that was okay with my identity and didn't have an issue with that, but would treat me like shit. And then I go to a new job that seems to treat me pretty well. Obviously, I haven't really fleshed it out yet, but then can't open their eyes and figure out pronouns. They know I'm trans. No one has asked what my pronouns are once.
Do you think that the eye makeup there was makeup, or do you think that was tattoos? Because when I was looking at it on the stream there, I was questioning. I thought that it was just like drawn on like with makeup, but then when I was kind of looking at it a little bit closer, it looked as if she had actually tattooed that on her eyes. I don't know. Anything is possible. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. Millions of years of evolution just for this. That's funny, Chris Moore. Welcome to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. I'm obviously AP. We're glad to have you here today. I hope that you enjoyed Jeremy Katie on there. See, now you get the background actually matches with the content. Whenever I've been bringing fewer politicians onto the show just because it definitely kind of does kill the vibe. Have you noticed that? I mean, we like Jeremy and we like Tony Lavasco and Ben Baker sometimes and all that kind of stuff. But obviously there's a major difference between what my old radio show, my conservative talk radio show used to be and what the Wake Up America show is now, because it's just way more up in here, right? It's just a lot more kind of fun, footloose, fancy free. The Wake Up America show, and I think I saw Quest Fanning say this one point that he really likes this show a lot better than the older one. Certainly we're doing much better with the new one, but yeah, in terms of like the background and how it matches or doesn't match, there's ways to do politics that doesn't have to be boring, that can be actually exciting and interesting. And I think we're starting to square those circles. I only see one human. Yeah, they, them. Who would honestly figure that out? I mean, I wouldn't know, because when I see a they, them, I think, okay, we're talking about plural here, right? No, but they're not talking about plural there. They're talking about a singular person that wants to be called they, them. I mean, it's not that confusing, she says. Yes, it is. She wants me to say, actually, they want me to say, all right, let's talk like they want us to say, okay? They want us to call them they. When I say that, don't you think that you are referring to not her, but hers or herples? People or people? I have people. I have no idea. All right, that's enough, Austin. Time to stop screwing around. Let's talk about. Actually, it is hard, says Tolly. Exactly. Years of using pronouns one way is not easy to just stop doing. Exactly. Thank you. The world doesn't need to stop and accommodate every single person. All right, let's talk about naps. I'm a napper. I get up my butt up early and I work until the afternoon. And right around lunchtime, after I'm done with lunch, it's siesta time, baby. And I gotta have my 30-minute, 90-minute nap, whatever it is. Well, it turns out the 30-90-minute rule does have some scientific backing when it comes to how you should take your naps. Listen to this. Naps are apparently they are great for your memory. They're great for your cognitive function. They're great for your physical health and your all-around productivity. When I first started getting up early and doing early morning talk shows, I felt really guilty about taking naps because I thought that, oh, this is killing your productivity. This is not good for you. This is not good for you? Maybe it's, you're being lazy. Like there's kind of like that twinge of guilt that you feel that kind of kills your vibe and maybe makes your naps less productive. But a good nap, properly timed, is actually really good for you. It's great for your physical health. It's great for your productivity. Research is clear. Naps actually boost the performance of employees and busy entrepreneurs, people like myself. So when you take one, though, sometimes you feel up kind of, listless, right? You feel more tired than you were before you went to sleep, right? So if scientists are right, if naps are good for you, then why do we often feel so bad after we're done taking them? Well, taking a good nap is harder than it may first appear. It's kind of counterintuitive, right? You might think, oh, what's so hard about it? It's like kindergarten. You roll out the mat, lay down, take a nap, right? But it's all about your sleep cycles. And the 30-90 rule is the basic essential principle that even NASA scientists have confirmed is kind of the way to ensure that you are taking a nap that will give you the kind of restfulness that you need in order to improve your cognitive function. Naps are good bonding time. My wife reveals, yes, we do like taking naps together in the afternoon. Good bonding time. Europeans use the naps to recharge. Yes, apparently so do Mexicans. And it's all about your sleep cycles, right? For the first 30 minutes after lying down, you're usually in a phase of light sleep. Then after 30 minutes, you enter a phase of deep sleep, which lasts around 30 to 75 minutes. Now, before you wake up, you experience a period of REM sleep where you do most of your intense dreaming, and each phase of sleep has different functions for your brain. Deep sleep deals with fatigue, REM sleep deals with memory and mood, and that archives all of the memories and then flushes things out of the brain that it doesn't need. But the key is to get a good nap is to try and avoid waking up from deep sleep, right? That means that you should probably aim to sleep for either 30 minutes or less, or give yourself a 90-minute nap. That's the 30-90 rule. NASA tested the ideal nap length to boost cognitive performance. Listen to this. This is what I thought was really key to this and why I was like, okay, this is useful information. They found a snooze of 26 minutes was ideal, boosting performance on the job by 34%. How much would you like to have, if you're an entrepreneur like me, how much would you like to have 36% more productivity in your day? I sure would, because I tell you, by the end of the day, around 8 p.m., something like that, when I'm beat and I'm exhausted, and I say to myself, God, I still feel like I could have done more. I still feel like I could have been more productive. If I hadn't taken that nap earlier in the day, maybe I would be more productive. Well, maybe I just didn't take a nap in the right amount of time. It's 30 or it's 90, right? If you want to refresh your brain and boost memory and concentration, a short nap is best for that. If you need to whittle away at a more serious sleep debt, say you only got a few hours of sleep the night before, right, then you should try and complete a full sleep cycle. So try and get a 90-minute nap. So if you're just trying to refresh, be more productive, 30 minutes. If you're operating on like a 4-hour sleep night or something like that, and you're at a deficit, 90 minutes. There you go. Naps of 90 to 120 minutes usually comprise all stages, including REM and deep slow wave sleep. So that'll help clear your mind, improve memory recall, and recoup lost sleep. And as an added bonus, if you wake from REM sleep, it leaves you perkier than trying to drag yourself out of deep sleep. So if you find yourself dragging after your afternoon snoozes, the problem is probably not your nap, but your nap technique. For better results, heed the science and always set your alarm for either 30 minutes or less, or 90 minutes or more. All right, let's go get Judge Napolitano. I'm sure that he's probably bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and awake. Let's talk to him about objects being shot down over airspace. And does he believe in aliens? Talk to him about that when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Donald Trump and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy Bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defender.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Step right up, ladies and gents, to learn about the coolest president yet. He's not just any old prez, he's Calvin Coolidge, and boy oh boy is he different from the rest. He was quiet as a mouse, but don't you underestimate his power. He knew how to handle money, and he didn't waste an hour. He cut taxes, lowered debt, and balanced the budget with ease. No wonder the roaring 20s brought such prosperity and peace. But don't take my word for it, grab a copy of Calvin the Coolest President and see for yourself. It's a children's book that'll make you smile and help your little ones learn about wealth.
You can find it on Amazon Kindle or get your hands on a paperback at apforlibertyshop.com. So come on down and get yourself a copy of the book that's making waves all around town. You won't regret it, so get ready to be floored because Calvin Coolidge, well, folks, he really scored.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
Do you have any real-world experience?
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning, I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. Welcome back. We're glad to have you here. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're enjoying the program so far today. Make sure if you're watching the show today over on YouTube that you click like to help us get out into the feed of other people so they can enjoy the message of economic freedom and personal liberty as well. And that's the mantra of my next guest, one of my greatest inspirations. His name is Judge Andrew Napolitano. He's the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, and he's joining us right now. Good morning, Judge. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Austin. I'm fine. It's great to be with you as always.
As usual, Judge, it is always our pleasure. Thank you for coming on today. It's big brain time. Let's put on our thinking caps and talk about the big news items of the day. Yesterday, a bipartisan team of U.S. senators sat down in the Pentagon in a classified briefing, Judge. And when they emerged from that briefing, Senator John Kennedy and Marco Rubio and many others said that they came out with more questions than answers about what the objects were that were shot down in U.S. airspace. One thing that they said they did know was that they were not Chinese. Just what exactly is going on here, Judge?
Well, what's going on, Austin, is the perpetuation of power with mystery, which the government loves to do by putting truthful information to which the American public is entitled behind a wall of secrecy. I don't discredit Senators Kennedy and Rubio, but they are only representatives. They are only senators. That they shouldn't know more than the people know, but the government enacts these laws to clothe and couch things in the mantra and myth of secrecy, so as to give itself the illusion of power and that it's doing something to help us. In terms of what actually happened, my own view is that we knew for a long time what the Chinese balloon had. We know it because they've sent other balloons, because we use balloons, because we spy on them, because they spy on us. And maybe something was happening where the government wanted to get our eyes off of something being revealed on the ground by having everybody look up at a balloon in the sky for 4 days. And that thing, in my view, was the revelation by the great investigative journalist Seymour Hersh that the United States government attacked an ally, Germany, and a putative but not real adversary, Russia, by destroying the Nord Stream pipeline under the guise of an intelligence operation by the CIA, but done to damage the German economy, to compel them to get in line with American sanctions, and to damage the Russian economy because of the myth that this will diminish the ability of the Russians to fight the war in Ukraine. You know, the guy you and I once worked for was brilliant at this, Roger Ailes. Bad news is coming in. What are we going to do? It's about to hit. We'll create a diversion. We'll cause something else to happen that everybody will look at, that we can control, so they won't look at what they can't control. So one time, Geraldo Rivera took a picture of himself wearing nothing. Then the picture stopped right below his navel, and somebody at the New York Post got the picture, and they were about to post it. And Ailes goes, what are we going to do? Al Sharpton's giving a speech. Go down there with a camera crew and interrupt the speech and start screaming at Sharpton, and everybody will look at this, and nobody will look at your navel. And it worked.
Wag the dog, Judge. Wag the dog. People don't understand. These things are much more common than we're led to believe. That a lot of the media that they're looking at is a distraction, so that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Right?
Correct. Now, I don't know if how impervious our airspace is. I don't know what these other three things were that they shot down. Obviously, I'm not a scientist. In my view, they should have shot it with just a single bullet. So not a missile, not a $400,000 missile, so that it would slowly come down, so they could capture it intact and reverse engineer it. And after I said that, I learned that we already knew what it was. We didn't have to reverse engineer it. However, the cost of shooting it down and recovering it is astronomical. One thing Joe Biden did that I'll commend him for, and as you know, I haven't hesitated to be critical of him, is he didn't shoot it down over land as the Republicans wanted him to. God forbid it harmed someone, American or not, or destroyed property, American or not. They waited till this thing got out over the Atlantic Ocean. These other three things, the mystery to me as to what they were, and I doubt that Senators Kennedy or Rubio know what they are. I profoundly condemn the concept of a Congress within a Congress, the Gang of Eight, the Republican and Democrat leaders of the two intelligence committees, the Republican and Democrat leaders of the two houses of Congress. You can tell them certain things, and because you tell them in a secret room called a SCIF, they can't tell anybody else. Well, that's not representative democracy. If my representatives, whom I have sent to Washington, can't tell me what they know the government is doing, that's an oligarchy. That's a government by the elite and the select.
Judge, and being libertarians, yourself and myself, we take a very dim view of the use of presidential power, especially when it comes to the military, especially when it's for unconstitutional uses. But when you say that the role of the president in this situation with a Chinese spy balloon would have been better served if they had just if they had just captured it and just shooting it once so that it came down slowly, you are, I guess, tacitly endorsing at least some role for presidential power in terms of national defense in making certain uses of military power that are for defensive purposes only. So, I guess what I would like to know is, if you could flesh out a little bit when you think it is appropriate for the president of the United States to use military authority in such a way.
Well, under just war theory, which is natural law theory, natural rights theory, it is only licit to use military power defensively. You can't use it offensively. Defensively means that American humans or property or national security is in imminent danger of attack. Only under those circumstances can you lawfully use American military force. If something's hanging over New York City and you don't know what it is, or hanging over Alaska and you don't know what it is, and there aren't people in it, yes, you can use military force to prevent a calamity. But just law theory is a combination of Thomas Aquinas and Murray Rothbard, a Jew who was very pro-Catholic.
Judge,
and Professor Rothbard, my traditional Catholic friends would love this. Professor Rothbard actually refined Aquinas into the non-aggression principle. All aggression is illicit. And if the Americans blow up a pipeline or pull the first trigger, unless it's defensive, that's an act of aggression. I hope I've answered your question.
Sure. Yeah.
No American president has followed this in the modern era. We actually had an American president who not only didn't follow it, but changed warfare from shooting at the military to shooting at civilians. And he had his military shoot at American civilians. His name was Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, yes. One of these days, you and I are going to have a good Lincoln discussion, Judge, but it is not this day. I actually want to ask you something of a perhaps bizarre, bonkers question, but a question that I've never asked you before, because one of the questions that's been raised in regards to what these objects are is the question of UFOs. Now, Judge, I know that you're a practicing Catholic, but that doesn't mean that you deny scientific possibilities. Do you believe in extraterrestrials, Judge?
I really don't know. I don't discount it, and I don't look behind every cloud trying to find it. Here's a word you've never heard me use. I'm agnostic on it. I don't know, and I almost don't care.
You don't think that the existence of them would disprove Christianity or religion in any sense?
I don't think so. God created the universe. If he created rational beings, I don't know if they're people, rational beings on other planets, he created them for some purpose at the present time unknown to us. But our discovery of the truth, again, this is Aquinas, is like peeling an onion. Every time we peel something off, there's something else in there that interests us, and we begin peeling that off. And the onion will never be fully peeled until we all experience the beatific vision, which is God and our souls with our bodies in heaven.
Just as an aside, one of my favorite discussions in evangelical circles is the question of, because in order to attain heaven and to be with God in evangelical circles or fundamentalist circles, the belief is that you must accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior and be baptized, saved, so that you can be reborn after death. And so the question would be that if there were aliens, then is how long a period do the aliens have in finding out about Christ until they must accept Christ in order to attain heaven themselves, which I just find a fascinating discussion.
Yeah, I don't know of any Catholic theologians that have written on that. And I don't know if Jesus came down from heaven to other planets. Would be
the Mormons have a thought about that.
Oh God, they think he was seen in a Chevrolet in the Utah desert in 1955, don't they? Mitt Romney, where are you? Where are you, Senator Romney, when we need you?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. This has gone off the rails. If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. I'm definitely going to clip that for later, Judge. And we're talking about serious subjects here, serious subjects. Judge, my wife and I were engaging in family planning. We're hoping that later this year we might be gifted with the miracle of life, right? Or at least in the next 2-3 years that we might have a child. And in doing so, we're asking ourselves some difficult questions about how can we manage our child's personality and social life without exposing them to the toxic nature of social media that is unlike anything that I experienced, she experienced. Parents that are undergoing a crisis right now, Judge, with transgender clinics filling up with young girls who are experiencing a social contagion by watching people experiencing forms of mental health, mental health diseases that are primarily self-diagnosed, but of which some of them you can actually take tics from people who have Tourette's syndrome and actually pick up these things because of what's experienced on social media. I think social media is dangerous. But Judge, nowhere in our conversations between my wife and I do we ever think, well, we would really like the government to co-parent with us when it comes to managing social media. Your thoughts on Senator Josh Hawley's proposition to have government step in for the role of parents and regulate social media for kids?
I think that your former opponent, and how many rosaries did I say and have my mother say that you would win that election, but we'll see where the future takes us. Who once clerked for the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, needs to go back and take basic constitutional law on the First Amendment, because the last time I read it, which was 2 days ago, it says in part, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. It doesn't say the freedom of speech of adults only. It says the freedom of speech. There is absolutely no role, zero, for any government, Congress, state, regional, or local, to evaluate speech on the basis of its content. The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government, all government, out of that business. Senator Hawley has introduced legislation to somehow require permission or consent for children under 16 to access certain products on the internet. That is the moral duty of the parents to teach the children. The government should have no say, zero, in what anyone, 16-year-old or 60-year-old or 100 years old, sees on the internet or anywhere else. Has no say whatsoever in the content of speech. Once you let the camel's nose under the tent, under the guise of safety, protecting people in the tent, you will open up a can of worms, which will lead to the most horrific punishment and censorship for the exercise of the freedom of speech. Senator Hawley somehow mistakenly thinks he's a latter-day Theodore Roosevelt, who can use his place in the Senate, though Roosevelt was never in the Senate, to tell people how to live. Go back to school, Josh. Come to take my course on the First Amendment if you want.
Did you know that he actually voted for more federal spending than Bernie Sanders last year?
Wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, he's a big government Republican. He is the worst example and a paradigmatic example of your complaint and mine that we don't have a two-party system in this country. We have a one-party system. It's the big government party. Both sides want control. Both sides want to stay there forever. Both sides like war. Republicans prefer more deficits. Democrats prefer more taxes. But they both basically want the same thing: more control, more telling people how to live.
Let's move.
I mean, how can Josh Hawley and Rand Paul be in the same political party? They are about as opposite as you can imagine.
Well, they're both social conservatives and share those value systems, but the difference, of course, is that one wants to project them onto us through legislation. Judge, can I ask, and we're going to get into real deep big brain time. We're going to move from policy to politics. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about like the ideas behind these factions within the Republican Party and how they have moved and how they have sort of elbowed one another out for space. Because what's fascinating in terms of what's occurred over the last decade, Judge, was that for a brief period we had what was called by the New York Times the libertarian moment. Senator Rand Paul, in running for president, I think, was sort of the zenith of that moment. And as he bowed out of the primaries, so we saw the libertarian moment start to dissipate as well. And so now the liberty movement is, I would say, that we're very much scattered to the four winds, unfortunately. But our primary opponents on the right in competing for position were the neoconservatives, the George W. Bushes, the Nikki Haleys, the Dick Cheneys, the Wolfowitz, the Blitzers. Right, these are the people who had power in Washington until Donald Trump came along. For a brief period, the Tea Party made it appear as if the liberty movement would be ascendant, and even if Ron Paul himself would not be elected, that perhaps his son or some other liberty-leaning type of legislator would sort of herald the dawn of a new liberty era, of which the Republican Party would embody. Tea Party, taxed enough already. But we sort of switched out. So what you've described as progressive republicanism, that of Theodore Roosevelt, was supplanted neoconservatism. Now, I guess I wonder, Judge, knowing that neoconservatives are also big government conservatives, or if we're looking at this from Ronald Reagan's three-legged stool theory, national defense conservatives, social conservatives, and fiscal conservatives, of which you and I would reside in that camp. Do you sometimes miss the neoconservatives in the sense that neocons, marginally at least, agree with us on issues like immigration, of which the progressives, the Teddy Roosevelt ones, are vehemently anti-immigration, like the MAGA Republicans, the populists, the national conservatives, the Josh Hawleys, the J.D. Vances, vehemently anti-immigration. George W. Bush was very pro-immigration, right? He agrees with on that. Many neocons, although not all, marginally at least, agree with this on things like ending the war on drugs. But the vehement social conservatism of the Josh Hawley Republicans, the J.D. Vance Republicans, is to declare war on fentanyl and methamphetamines, and to make it the centerpiece of their campaigns. We sort of replaced one brand of tyranny for another, Judge. I know you'll say that. But I mean, at least with neoconservatives, they at least understood the power of markets. They at least understood the power of immigration and building a thriving economy. Again, is it just a case of replacing one evil for another, knowing that the neocons' foreign policy was so bad? But I mean, at a minimum, at least they understood economics. Which devil would you prefer, Judge?
Well, the late great Archbishop Fulton Sheen said, "I'd rather have a smart devil than a stupid one." So I would prefer the devil that understands and appreciates the free market. At least that's a baby step, or maybe a large step in our direction. A little of this is hair splitting, because sometimes this neocon social conservative is embodied in the same human being, rather than just in the same class of people or the same group of senators. I don't know, maybe there's a part of Josh Hawley that agrees with us. I don't know what it is. And maybe there's a part of Rand Paul that disagrees with us. I don't know what it is. But our enemy is the government. The government, the state, is the enemy of liberty. Anybody who is going to be in favor of human liberty needs to understand and embrace that. And they also need to understand and embrace Rothbard's non-aggression principle, that no initiation of aggression, which includes theft by deception, is licit. It's all immoral. It's so immoral that the government can prosecute it even if it's not written down as a crime, because the government can enforce natural rights. I hope I'm not getting too theoretical.
You sort of understood like the scenario that I've painted in describing these rather distinct ideologies. I don't like to paint them in black and white terms. You're correct that sometimes, you know, a neoconservative will be just as anti-immigration as a MAGA populist or a Republican. But theoretically, the neoconservatives, if you're looking at this from a larger perspective, we're talking, you know, if you look at it perhaps the industrialism versus agrarianism, neoconservatism has its feet in elite circles. These are people that you and I might run into on the streets of New York City wearing three-piece suits. Whereas the populist Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, are you're much more likely to find them tilling a field here in my home state of Missouri, right? And so it sort of resembles that old tension in the United States. You know, the old, I guess, if back in the 50s and 60s, the Rockefeller Republicans versus the Goldwater Republicans, if you will.
Yes.
Right. And like you said,
Well,
you know,
you want that tension because democracy it sows the seeds of its own destruction, because the majority will take liberty and property from the minority whenever it can. And sometimes the courts and independent judiciary will stop them, and sometimes an independent judiciary won't. So the more tension there is within the majority itself, the more exposure there is of the majority's nefarious plans, and the more opportunity there is for the minority to put a stop to it.
Judge, you are a man of the city. You're a man of the elite. You know, the times I've visited you, you are a man who, you know, who lives in a glass tower looking down over New York City, or you know, sitting by a hearth in an estate in New Jersey. I mean, you are a man of taste and of class and of quality. I'm a man of the dirt, of the farm, of the road, I come from common stock. And you know, while I did spend some time with you in New York City in these, you know, glass palaces, I very much, you know, and have, you know, a foot in both camps. I sort of identify with both qualities, and so therefore I think that tension that you have described is important in sort of securing the liberty of the Americans by ensuring that no one faction or class has too much power or another. But, you know, when you look at one of the things that Abraham Lincoln, if you were to say something good about him, is that he was resistant to the populist movement of the time, the know nothings of the time. He wrote frequently in his private diaries that while he didn't publicly resist the populist movements, that he privately resisted them. This is, you know, the time of the Luddite movement in the United States, the time when people who were anti-technology, and these people still exist, Judge. The populist movements in the United States today are very anti-technology. They're very anti-progress. They're you know, every time, you know, some new, you know, dancer or singer comes out on stage with devil horns on, it must be satanic and demonic and a plot to destroy our children. They're very superstitious. They seem to be looking
It sounds like you're
backwards.
describing Josh Hawley again.
So I mean, I guess, you know, what I'm trying to get to, Judge, with this question is that you know, do you sort of identify with Abraham Lincoln in that way, in that at least there is something of an elitist strain to our views and our politics? If we are anti-democracy, Judge, right, in some sense we are elitists, are we not?
I suppose we are, and I'm anti-democracy. Not that I want to undermine it, but I want to put restraints on it. So did James Madison. Madison's restraints on the federal government were twofold: secession and nullification. We know where they ended up with the bloodiest war in American history, thanks to Abraham Lincoln. It is very clear that the Constitution's drafters contemplated secession and nullification. We know that from what happened after the Adams administration ratified the Alien and Sedition Acts, and the things that Jefferson and Madison and some of their fellow signers of the Declaration of Independence and ratifiers of the Constitution said should be done in order to vitiate the effect of it by simply saying, in Kentucky, it doesn't apply. The Kentucky resolutions written by Madison. In Virginia, it doesn't apply. The Virginia resolutions written by Jefferson. So pure democracy is extremely dangerous. Even representative democracy without restraints is extremely dangerous. Those restraints were built into the Constitution, crushed by Lincoln in the Civil War and the big government federal judiciary that followed.
Yeah, it's just an interesting situation to be in where these populist movements that have existed in the United States for quite some time still always, they rear their ugly heads, and with them comes a libertarian desire to overthrow the established order and to have a policy that is good for the common working man. You and I would say that capitalism involves that, but also to have a restraint on the tyranny of the majority, that there is an elitist bias as well, that we want to resist that in having a small r Republican form of government. It is necessarily elitist. Judge, I've got another guest coming on in a few minutes. I wish I could talk about this kind of stuff with you for hours because I love it so much. I've got to run. Who do you have on Judging Freedom coming up next?
I have Colonel Douglas McGregor at 3:00 today on what did the government do and why did it do it, blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, and how inevitable the Ukrainian soon defeat is.
Thank you, Judge, for
3
sharing.
3:00 Eastern, Judging Freedom.
Judging Freedom, which you can download on any of your podcast devices. Judge, thank you so much for your time and for indulging me with these big meta conversations. I appreciate you very much.
Pleasure. The happiest segment of the week for me, Austin.
Always appreciated. Check out Judging Freedom on any of your devices. That's Judge Andrew Napolitano, Big Brain Time. All right, so why are central banks buying gold at a rate of 135% higher than they did? Robert Kiyosaki, he is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, says a crash is coming. I'm going to talk to Kevin Demeritt, our sponsor, Lear Capital, here when we get back to talk about that on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America Show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America Show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America Show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America Show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America Show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Step right up, ladies and gents, to learn about the coolest president yet. He's not just any old prez, he's Calvin Coolidge, and boy oh boy is he different from the rest. He was quiet as a mouse, but don't you underestimate his power. He knew how to handle money, and he didn't waste an hour. He cut taxes, lowered debt, and balanced the budget with ease. No wonder the roaring 20s brought such prosperity and peace. But don't take my word for it, grab a copy of Calvin the Coolest President and see for yourself. It's a children's book that'll make you smile and help your little ones learn about wealth. You can find it on Amazon Kindle or get your hands on a paperback at apforlibertyshop.com. So come on down and get yourself a copy of the book that's making waves all around town. You won't regret it, so get ready to be floored because Calvin Coolidge, well, folks, he really scored.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Judge Andrew Napolitano. Wasn't he great? Good stuff. Well, I love following economic news. As an investor myself, I'm always tracking the ups and downs of the stock market. Sometimes I think I just need to set it and forget it because it just gives me heartburn, especially when I read this tweet a few days ago from the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, somebody that I definitely trust when it comes to predictions in the stock market. And listen to this tweet that he said. Crash is here. Have you been following the Silicon Valley layoffs? He says, Silicon Valley first dominoes fall, laying off 144,000 people in 2022, 66,000 more in 2023. He says Valentine's Day massacre, everything will crash, including prices. Do not panic. Good news. I'm going to be buying gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Buy real money with fake money. Let's talk about that with the founder and principal of Lear Capital, Kevin Demeritt. Kevin, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Well, great to be back, Austin.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. So kind of scary. Robert Kiyosaki, somebody that I definitely trust and whose advice I heed, says that there's a crash coming. And, when somebody says somebody like that says something like that, I tend to listen. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think he's right. We see the Fed need great skill and good luck to bring down inflation, crashing the economy from Janet Yellen. And then we're starting to see, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft lay off about 150,000 people. So we're just at the start of what I think a lot of people are talking about, which is, another recession around the corner.
Yeah, no, it sounds like we're getting a little bit of feedback there, Kevin. If you can take a look at at your microphone settings and see if hopefully we can get a little bit of a better connection. This is what Robert Kiyosaki tweeted in January. He says, question, what's worse than a Great Depression? A global recession. Unfortunately, we are in a global recession. He says rough landing for the world. Bad news, bankruptcy, unemployment, homelessness soars, retirement's toast. The good news is bargains everywhere. Gold and silver and Bitcoin are priceless. Your response to that?
Well, here, let me try to fix this microphone.
Sounds like we're getting a little bit of feedback there. That's okay. Sometimes it does happen. Another news story that we've been tracking on this one this morning has been this question of why central banks are buying gold like crazy. 152% spike that I'm reading this morning. Central bank gold buying increased by 152% last year. China led the charge. Their total reported gold reserves growing to over 2,000 tons. And globally, central banks have added to net reserves for 13 straight years. Kevin is back. Hopefully his microphone's a little set. Hey, Kevin.
How's that?
That's much better. Thanks so much.
Okay.
All right. So give us your prognostication here, Nostradamus. What's happening here? China buying, gold like crazy, but central banks also spike in their gold buying. What's happening?
Yeah. So one of the most important lessons I've learned in purchasing gold is, go where the big money's purchasing, and there's no bigger money than central banks. So a couple of stats here. Central banks have purchased 650 metric tons of gold in 2022, which, if you look at that number, Austin, 650 tons is higher than any volume that we've seen in central banks going all the way back to 1967. So you'd have to go all the way back 55 years to see that kind of volume with central banks. And the reason that that's important is because 1967 was the start of kind of stagflation and inflation. And then you saw the gold price rise over 900%. So the central banks are just following along with what historically they've done when they start to see inflation. And inflation is tough to beat. And central banks are not day traders. They're not speculators. So they typically hold that gold for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And that's why it's important for investors to watch what those central banks are doing. So I think it's a big deal. And I think, most of the information that's coming out is they're continuing to buy in January and February of this year as well.
So whenever I see the rich guys making moves like that, Kevin, I always say to myself, well, I can't afford to do the kind of moves that these guys are doing in the marketplace. I mean, if you're a small time investor, so let's say you've only got, maybe $1,000. So because a lot of times, people won't take you if you want to invest in something of significance, they'll say, well, you got to really have $10,000. I mean, is it even possible for people who have maybe like only $1,000 or $2,000 squirreled away to be able to make those kinds of investments?
Yeah, you can. There's smaller denomination silver or gold pieces, 10th ounce gold pieces that you can get into for a couple of $100s. And then silver pieces. I think the silver market is extremely undervalued. It looks like silver's just absolutely on sale compared to where gold's trading at right now. Last time gold was this high, silver was $47 an ounce, and we're trading, at $22 an ounce. So there's different ways for people to play this market and invest over the next 3 to 5 years and take advantage with smaller amounts of invested dollars.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are really into silver because they look at that as an affordable way to kind of enter this commodities market. So, for example, if I were to contact Lear Capital today and say, knowing that I've got maybe $1,000 to spend, is silver coins what people are typically looking at? I mean, I guess bars are another option and stuff like that. What kind of like products is Lear Capital offering to the smaller investors?
Yeah, so good question. There's bars and coins, both 1 ounce. You can get larger bars, 10 ounce, 100 ounce silver bars. Same with, the gold bars. So it really depends on what you're looking to do. So we get people, I would say 50% of our business is on retirement accounts. So IRAs or 401ks that people have, they can invest there. And we put a little bit different type of metal in there. When I say different type of metal, different denominations to try to get you the best possible price. And then outside of an IRA for physical home delivery, just depends on where you'd like it stored. Silver is fairly bulky. So do you want it in your safety deposit box? Do you have your own safe? So on and so forth. And we try to make it easy to determine which denominations will be best for people.
What's the advantage of working with someone like Lear Capital over saying, hey, just taking my cash and going down to the local pawn shop?
Great question. First of all, we've got a lot of research. I don't think the pawn shop's doing research on, the gold and silver and where prices are going to go. They're definitely not going to be able to help you with an IRA or a 401k placing physical gold, there. And then we make a buy and sell market immediately for people. So you pick up the phone, we lock in the price right away when you're purchasing. You don't have to have money on account. We'll lock in the price for you. And when you go to sell, you have your physical metal. We lock in the price and then send you out some labels for Federal Express to get that metal back to us. So we make it very easy to buy and sell and know exactly what your pricing is. And hopefully my pricing will be, a pawn shop by a wide margin.
I'm sure it will, actually. If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking to Kevin Demeritt. He is the founder and principal of Lear Capital. Lear Capital helps sponsor this show. We're talking to them a little bit about what they have on offer. Now, I have a Roth IRA left over from a previous job. I've got a certain amount of money in it. My wife invests in mutual funds, and I mean, we have just gotten killed in the last year, Kevin. And so we're asking ourselves, we've already got all this money that's already invested in stocks. If we want to move some of that sideways into actual physical metals, is that something that we would take a tax hit for? Like, if let's say we have something, a Roth IRA portfolio, and it's already in stocks. If I were to sell some of those stocks in that portfolio and then decide to purchase, some physical gold and metals from Lear Capital, is that something that I could do? Could I allocate a portion of that Roth IRA into gold and silver without having a tax consequence?
Yeah, great question. The answer is yes. We would set up a new account and you would move any portion of that Roth IRA that you wanted to over to the precious metals. And then we would place physical precious metals in that account and you can buy and sell anytime, just like you would with your stock. So there's no tax ramifications whatsoever.
Right. But if we have, for example, if we decide to take ownership of that gold and silver, then at that point in time, there would be the tax liability, just like if we had sold the stock and cashed it out, correct?
Yeah, same exact situation if you took the cash out of your Roth IRA now. Well, with a Roth IRA, you don't have any tax consequences. You'd have just a penalty, but you wouldn't have any tax consequences because you already paid before you put it in your Roth. But on a traditional IRA, you would have some tax penalties or tax. You'd have to pay your taxes and then you'd have some penalties. So it's no different than any other IRA.
So people are always concerned about the security of their investments. When it comes to paper stocks and things like that, we know that it's an intangible. So when we buy gold and silver, Kevin, we know we're getting something tangible. So if a portion of our retirement is in gold and silver, we say, well, we can take ownership of it any time. But the question is, where is it?
Yeah. So we store all of those metals, or the custodian stores those metals at Delaware Depository, which is one of the largest depositories in the world. They are also insured by Lloyd's of London. The US government uses them for all of the futures contracts, and you can take physical delivery anytime you'd like. So the nice part about working with Lear and Equity, which is the custodian of the IRA, is most custodians make you sell out the precious metals and then send a check just like you would typically with your stock. With this IRA, you can actually take physical possession of the metals without selling and then having to rebuy the metals outside the IRA again. So huge depository, very secure and well-known, and a couple of different advantages using them because of their size and the technology that they have to be able to send the gold to you while it's still in your IRA.
Obviously, a very competitive business that you're in, Kevin. Is there any unique value add that Lear Capital offers to clients and customers that you think really makes you all stand out?
Yeah, I think there's really three. Number one, working with IRAs, we're approved to be able to do that. A lot of other companies are not. Some are, but a lot of others are not. Number two, just our information and research. And we have one of the largest inventories in the country. So we just have a little bit more choices for people, which can really help out when the market, is volatile, because platinum, palladium, silver, gold, we can help people move around a little bit. And lastly, we have a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. I think we're the only company out there that has it, which means when you place an order, existing or new customer, we give you 24 hours to take a look at that invoice, check it out, check the pricing, so on and so forth. And you can cancel for whatever reason and walk away from that purchase. So we try to make everything very transparent to make sure that everybody's comfortable with each transaction that happens.
Yes, things like that that make me proud that you're a sponsor of the Wake Up America show. I just want to say on behalf of all of our friends, we're building a very thriving, very positive community over there. And all of the Cantina crew, as we like to call them, would like to say thanks and extending your gratitude to supporting the Wake Up America show to help support the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty, of which gold and silver are certainly a cornerstone of. Kevin Demeritt from Lear Capital, thank you very much for your time today. We certainly appreciate you very much.
Thanks, Austin. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. And if you like what you heard today, make sure that you visit their website or call the phone number that you see in the top of the screen right over there, 1-800-885-2175. If you like Kevin Demeritt and you think this is a man I could do business with and help support the Wake Up America show, visit them at learaustin.com. That's LEARAUSTIN.com. That's LEARAUSTIN.com. They'd love it if you give them a call. It's a lot easier these days. I know people are like, oh, getting on the phone, calling someone on the phone. You can do it. 1-800-885-2175. Write down that number and give them a call as soon as the show is over and find out what they have. They'll send you a free gold and silver informational packet. They'll do that the same if you visit the website, but there's nothing like an inbound call. 1-800-885-2175. I believe in gold, I believe in silver, and I believe in guns and Lear Capital. When we get back, let's talk about what it means to date a liberal. Have you ever done that? I have. Don't recommend. Get yourself a smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife. You'll be much better off. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Trump and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Step right up, ladies and gents, to learn about the coolest president yet. He's not just any old prez, he's Calvin Coolidge, and boy oh boy is he different from the rest. He was quiet as a mouse, but don't you underestimate his power. He knew how to handle money, and he didn't waste an hour. He cut taxes, lowered debt, and balanced the budget with ease. No wonder the roaring 20s brought such prosperity and peace. But don't take my word for it. Grab a copy of Calvin the Coolest President and see for yourself. It's a children's book that'll make you smile and help your little ones learn about wealth. You can find it on Amazon Kindle or get your hands on a paperback at apforlibertyshop.com. So come on down and get yourself a copy of the book that's making waves all around town. You won't regret it, so get ready to be floored because Calvin Coolidge, well, folks, he really scored.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Welcome back. Nice to see you. Did you like that interview with Kevin Demeritt? I got to tell you, it's so exciting to have sponsors like Lear Capital coming in and helping us to support the financial bedrock of this program, bringing us 5 days a week of economic freedom and personal liberty. Take care, Nathan. Nathan Clark, ladies and gentlemen, give him a round of applause as well. He's been doing a great job. I can't say enough nice things. He's a digital marketing major at State Tech here in mid-Missouri, and he's getting to work doing exactly what he loves, taking over the shop, creating new designs, building new products, doing content creation, all kinds of fun stuff. Well, how do you think stuff like that happens? Well, it's thanks to people like Lear Capital. And of course, thanks to all of our sponsors and monthly supporters out there in the Cantina crew. Wouldn't want you guys to be forgotten. I'm super grateful for you as well. It's kind of amazing, right? We're creating a whole industry here. And it's kind of like, well, it was a one-man show. Now it's 1.5-man show. He's part-time. But if things continue as we are right now on the trends, by this summer, we should be able to bring him on full-time. And then he can even start helping doing some of the creative stuff on the show rather than just the shop. I mean, I'm super excited about the future, guys. It's just, I know, I feel great. I feel good. I feel awesome. But if I fail, the funny thing is too, is if I fail, then everybody will know because it's going to be obvious. I know, right? You just have to assume, no, there is no failure. Burn your boats. We're going to do this, right? We're going to succeed, right? Absolutely. We're already succeeding. I mean, we started in September, and it's funny if you look at the trend lines on YouTube. I'll have to do it like this. If you look at the trend lines on YouTube, you can see like the views and like the subscribers. Sometimes the subscribers were actually negative. I was actually losing net subscribers on a certain day. And then the second week of January, if you look at the YouTube analytics, it goes like this. Or it's like this hockey stick, right? I wish it was straight up like that. It's like hockey stick, right? And now it's like super exciting. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Success. And then I'm going to go to Japan for 11 days and everything's going to crash. No, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that that didn't happen, that doesn't happen. I saw this account on Instagram that I just knew that I had to share it with you. It's called Dating Libs. I don't know if you have an Instagram account. If you don't, you're missing out here. The Dating Libs account on Instagram is cracking me up. You know what? I can't say too much because I know you're gonna get your video taken down, but I'm just gonna show it to you here. This is an article: Straight men must date trans women to combat hate, say activists. I thought we were allowed to have our personal preferences. That one. This one really got me because I definitely back in the day dated someone who was like this. About me, this is in their Tinder profile. It says, legit looking for a husband and male role model for my 3 kids. They all have different dads. I'm twice divorced. Temporarily have an OnlyFans. No, I don't want to make content with you. I'm blunt. Just forthcoming and only available every other weekend for now. L after L after L. I regularly work out. Okay, nice. And get tattoos. Oh, yikes. Medicated for my alphabet of mental health stuff. Thank God. 5'7" must be 6 foot minimum to get on this ride. Oh, ladies. I think it's something like only like 17% of the male population are over 6 feet tall, and then like half of them are like, if you take half of them and stuff like that, it's like the percentage of dateable men for most women's standards. Once they say like height is one of the standards, it's like 0.1% of all available men like would meet their standards. I'm here for a long time, not a good time. If all of that's cool, swipe. If not, for the love of God, swipe left. Hey, Brandon, how's it going? Hope you're having a good day so far. Oh, God. Good God. Oh, God. This is a no. This is a no. Oh, my God. Okay. Dating Libs. This is Dating Libs. Sheepy, gas station attendant. Sheepy is 25 years old. She's got a lot to offer. Well, at least she has a job. I think that's definitely a point, right? She's still not over her daddy issues. Will love me, hold me, and give me 1,000 tiny kisses and tensions is what she's hoping. Non-negotiable. She says, no kids, please. I don't want any myself. I especially don't want yours. Wow, that's kind of rude. Not my thing. And with my mental illnesses, motherhood just isn't in the cards. Dating libs. Oh boy, not good, not good. All right, we're moving on. Oh boy, there's a lot to love there. Oh boy, Josh. Yikes, that dating profile is kind of scary. Oh boy, Josh. Wow, how do you get like that? For God's sakes. For God's sakes, at some point, I mean, and he's still rather young. What is going on? This is an actual U.S. general. Yeah, posted a picture of him dressed like that. His sexual kinks. Weird stuff. Anna, let's see. Anna is a non-binary trans woman looking to date woman. I practice ENM, and my husband knows about it. I think that's ethical non-monogamy. For those who are wondering. I work 2 jobs and I live with my husband and puppies. I'm a high-functioning Aspie, so I may be socially awkward at the beginning. Once I warm up to you, it's less notable. Demisexual and neurodivergent. Yes, who is not neurodivergent these days? And Peter Griffin, apparently. What is going on here? Okay, that's just LA right there. That's just the streets of LA. Oh, good God. All right, this is a dating libs profile. Some of this stuff I think. Oh no. Okay, God, can't show some of this stuff. I mean, this is on Instagram, just so you know. Can anyone offer me practical advice on how to learn a feminine voice? I absolutely hate my male voice. It's my only giveaway that I'm a trans woman. Only giveaway. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Dating libs. We're talking about dating libs here. Yeah, okay, let's see what they have to say. Let's see, there's no audio on this. Yeah, can't hear it. Okay. Moving on. Dating libs. Christina. Pansexual, demisexual, and queer woman. Okay. Yeah, that's a nice picture post there. Oh God, dating libs. It's a little explicit. I might need to stop this. All right, Austin, perhaps it's time. Yes, it is time. Thank God. Okay. Austin, get away from that. Okay, it's enough. Get away. Gross. Okay. That might get this video taken down. Wow. Well, c'est la vie. So, hope you enjoyed the show. I will cut the audio version if this video disappears from YouTube. Oh, then you can still listen to it. Did you know that we have a podcast that we cut the show and we put an audio form? I cut out the commercials and I play it for you straight. Yeah, you can download it on any of your mobile devices. Spotify, iTunes, podcasts, whatever. Pretty much, if you can get a podcast, you can download the audio version of the show. I upload it every day afterwards. And you can get it, yeah. 30 of you there, right there. If you haven't liked the show, just give us a like on the program. That would be great. We'd really appreciate that to help us grow. I'm not going to ask you for anything else because I already asked you to visit my sponsor, LearAustin.com, Lear Capital. They help us to be able to continue to keep the lights on here, to be able to bring you the Wake Up America show. Of course, just like many of you do in the Cantina crew. Lear Capital, visit them if you haven't. LearAustin.com. Get your free gold and silver packet or give them a call. And at the number that we had right over there, which was 1-800-885-2175. And we'll see you tomorrow, Thursday. And then we're one day closer. Guess what? Our book, Calvin, the Coolest President, comes in today. Yeah, Stephanie and I are super excited about it. We're going to get our copy today. And then this Friday on the show, we're going to do a book reading. So you do not want to miss this Friday. Steffi and I are going to reveal the full book to the public for the first time ever when we do, unless you get your copy, of course, which you can order on Amazon or at AP for Liberty shop. Right there, Calvin, the Coolest President. We'll do our little book reading this Friday on Family Friday. So maybe you're like, oh, I want to decide. I want to see it before I make a purchase for my niece or nephew or child or what have you. But if you're already sold on it, of course, check it out there at the very top of apforlibertyshop.com. You can see it. You get a free sample when you go to Amazon. Just say click that you want to get the free sample and it'll open it up for you so you can see a few pages. Yeah, story time's going to be fun. All right, we'll see you tomorrow on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit apforlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.